Good morning, everyone. We have 22 members of the public registered to speak today. The first 30 minutes of public comment will be delivered at the board meeting, and the remainder will be posted online for the public and the board members on Wednesday, March 17th, 2021. As a reminder, we ask that all public speakers adhere to the MTA's rules of conduct and decorum. I would also like to remind our public speakers that in the interest of time and fairness to all speakers, we limit everyone to 2 minutes. Please be aware that there will be a warning beep to remind you that you have 30 seconds left to conclude your remarks. Thank you for your patience and understanding throughout the virtual public comment session. The next speaker is Assembly Member Jessica Gonzalez Rojas.
Thank you. Good afternoon. Thank you for having me today. My name is Jessica Gonzalez Rojas, and I'm the Assembly Member of the 34th Assembly District, which includes the neighborhoods of Jackson Heights, East Elmhurst, Corona, and Woodside. I also sit on the Standing Committee on Corporations, Authorities, and Commissions, which has oversight responsibility of the MTA. The last time I testified before this body, I voiced my opposition to any fare hike that would be implemented. I cited then that my district has a median per capita income of about $27,000 compared to the average New Yorker, whose median per capita income is $39,000. I also shared that 63% of the residents of my community take public transportation to work. None of this has changed. New Yorkers have only struggled more since December, as they have only experienced ongoing unemployment, waited on lines for food, and waited for federal government to pass relief. This is heightened for many of our immigrant neighbors who has seen no relief from the federal government, who are excluded workers. So I am here again to say that I vehemently oppose any fare hike of any kind on New Yorkers by the MTA. Cancel it all together. I still maintain that we must restore the MTA service to 24/7. New Yorkers have things to do and places to go, and there's no excuse to inhibit this any further. There are essential workers trying to get to work. And finally, I have introduced legislation that will create an advisory committee so that cyclists and pedestrians can finally have access to the MTA bridges. I will be pushing for its passage. New Yorkers need more access, not less. Thank you so much.
The next speaker is Councilmember Udanis Rodriguez.
Thank you. I would like to say thank you to the New York City Congressional Delegation, Majority Leader Senator Schumer, and everyone that play important role to be sure that the MTA get the billions of dollars that we hope to deal with the financial crisis. At the same time, I'm also here to call for the MTA leadership to be sure that all the necessary steps will be put in place to address the issue of abuse of overtime spending, especially with the scandals that happened in the last couple of days. I think that now that we've been able to see federal support, it is critical also for the leadership to fix all those abusing overtime and also control spending and to address issues related to improve safety in our stations. I will always be a partner to the leadership when it comes to improving safety. And that's why I had joined Brooklyn Board President, also Eric Adams, when it comes to the 4-point safety plan that he presented to the MTA and to the city, which one will centralize all the effort related to safety coordination between MTA, state, and the city. Second, it will also bring additional services to improve safety. Together with the Brooklyn Board President, Eric Adams, we do support increase of public safety, but also we are calling for the MTA to bring social workers and mental health specialists to deal with those cases of individuals that they are addressing, that they're dealing with some mental health issue that unfortunately get involved in some assaults. Estamos aquí apoyando la MTA con el fondo que ha recibido, pero también apoyando el plan del presidente del condado de Brooklyn, Eric Adams, quien ha presentado un plan de cómo mejorar la seguridad en las estaciones. Thank you.
The next speaker is Alita Dupree.
Thank you, Chair Pat Foy and members. Alita Dupree for the record. My pronouns are she and her. Good to be with you once again. Thank you for a good report on Omni fare payment. It's been tapped 50 million times. The numbers are going to go up as people come back. It's only going to get better. So let's continue the next steps. I'd like to have an Omni fare card so I don't have another damaged MetroCard story. App would help as well. I like the idea of full participation. We're getting more money from the federal government. So I ask that we continue to go full speed ahead on our ADA station work. I would like to hope that by mid-decade that we can be opening new ADA equipped stations once a week so we can be done by 2030. We should not sacrifice $1 for against ADA work. It needs to be done. So I believe in full participation. Certainly we got to get back to working on our climate goals. I believe in the idea of a subway and a railroad and a bus system that's powered by renewable energy. And we have to continue to look at ways of managing our fare, things that came up in our last public hearing process. Well, I'm not hard advocating for a fare increase. I'd rather not see a fare increase. We do have to look at how we manage our fare. Full participation in the improved methods of the future. That's how we help people, is through inclusion. So thank you again. I look forward to the meeting. And let's rebuild. I hope to be back on the system soon. I had my first COVID shot last week. Thank you much.
The next speaker is Rachel Foss.
Good morning. My name is Rachel Foss, and I'm the Senior Research Analyst for Reinvent Albany. We advocate for more transparent and accountable New York government, including for state authorities like the MTA. It's Sunshine Week, and now is as important as ever for public agencies like the MTA to build greater trust with the public as they respond to the greatest public health threat in our lifetimes. We understand that the world changed dramatically when COVID-19 hit New York a year ago today, and we recognize that the MTA's workforce has suffered tragic losses, which we honor today. The MTA has also faced the greatest fiscal crisis in its history, and providing the public with greater transparency of its finances is crucial to furthering public understanding of its financial needs and challenges going forward. Nearly 2 years ago, Reinvent Albany released our Open MTA report with 50 recommendations for the MTA and state lawmakers to build trust with the agency. 18 of those recommendations specifically related to transparency. Also 2 years ago, Chairman and CEO Pat Foy made a commitment to improve open data and freedom of information law responses at the MTA. We believe now is a crucial time for the MTA to renew its commitment to transparency as it seeks to have more riders come back. We ask the MTA to do the following. 1, improve FOIL and create an open FOIL platform that allows the public to track FOIL requests with proactive disclosure of public records. 2, create an MTA open data portal with centralized proactive release of MTA data. 3, create an MTA contracts database with contract numbers, information about bidding processes, associated capital project numbers, and unique identifiers for vendors. 4, provide more public data about COVID-19 mitigation efforts and cleaning expenses, and expand public data about crowding and ridership. 5, improve the capital dashboard. 6, release more and timelier budget information as open data, clearly showing state actions to withhold, rate, or cut MTA funding and the use of emergency federal funds. And lastly, hold separate committee meetings again with extended and real-time public comment and earlier release of board materials. We thank you for your consideration.
Thank you. The next speaker is Felicia Park Rogers.
Hi, this is Felicia Park Rogers. I'm the Director of Regional Infrastructure Projects for Tri-State Transportation Campaign, an advocacy organization serving the tri-state region, working to reduce congestion, improve commutes, and improve the environment. As more and more people in our region receive COVID-19 vaccinations, it is time for us to begin to look to the future and the return of larger ridership on our region's mass transit. As the MTA prepares for larger numbers of riders on subway and commuter rails, as well as buses, we at Tri-State urge you to do so with as much input from the public and riders as possible. As we saw with the initial service reductions on the LIRR last week, riders have strong opinions about their health and safety on the trains. Creating opportunities for dialogue about riders' needs and concerns, as well as opportunities for the MTA to communicate effectively regarding the measures that are being taken to protect the health of riders is critical in the coming weeks and months. As our recently released report tracking COVID-19 and transit shows, with proper mask compliance, service frequency to reduce crowding, and proper ventilation, there is no evidence of transit serving as a super spreader for coronavirus. This is important information for riders to be aware of as they look to planning their commutes and begin riding the rails again. We look forward to opportunities for the MTA to continue to enhance its transparency efforts. As Rachel Foss recently stated, we are in full support of all of her recommendations. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Matt Camper.
Good morning, MTA board. My name is Matt Camper. I'm the Regional Vice President for Long Island for Passengers United, and I got a couple of items to talk about this month. First of all, I want to thank President Phil Ang for his tireless work and coming up with the right decision on behalf of us Long Island commuters of reinstating the previous timetable that is scheduled to take place on March 29th. However, since then, I have seen still to this day overcrowded trains on weekdays, especially during right in the shoulder of the rush hours before the PM rush and during the morning rush even. There are still some overcrowded trains. I want to thank the railroad for doing the right thing and adding some extra trains in the shoulder peak and also on the during the AM rush. But I believe that the Long Island Railroad should consider looking into, on behalf of us riders, trying to see if they can come up with getting this schedule change that's scheduled to go into effect on March 29th with the previous timetable and bring it back, possibly, if possible, a week earlier. That would really be beneficial because riders cannot deal with overcrowded trains for 3 more weeks, which is totally, I believe, unacceptable. And second of all, a couple of other public comments have said this so far. I believe it is time, a year after the COVID-19 pandemic started, we bring back committee meetings. I understand we can't do it in person, but why can't we consider having the committee meetings via Zoom, whatever we got to do, and that way the public can have more input that way, and the board can even have more discussion time about the items that will be discussed at the board meeting. So that's all, and thank you so much.
The next speaker is Lisa Daglian.
Greetings, I'm Lisa Daglian, Executive Director of the Permanent Citizens Advisory Committee to the MTA PCAC. I'm giving my remarks on March 15th for the March 17th board meeting. Apologies if I've missed breaking news in the intervening days, but I say this to reinforce the importance of allowing speakers on the day of the board meetings. I'll also take this opportunity to urge you to reinstate committee meetings where so much valuable information is shared. This would go far to shine light on the MTA. And an announcement about their restoration at this board meeting would be a perfect way to celebrate Sunshine Week, which you heard about from Reinvent Albany's Rachel Foss. Next week is a different anniversary, a tragically sad one, as it marks the first deaths of MTA workers from COVID-19. We mourn the loss of too many of these frontline heroes and thank them for their continued service. We also stand with them in support of making spitting on transit workers a misdemeanor. Always disgusting, it's become more dangerous than ever. Not only did subway, bus, Long Island Railroad, and Metro North workers move our region during our darkest days, they continue to move us as we reopen, and we are reopening. Subway ridership hit a milestone peak last week, and ridership resurgence continues. The fact that we're seeing more and more people return to the system reinforces the need to provide enough service that people feel safe and comfortable getting back on board. Cutting service is not the answer, as we saw unfold in real time on the LIRR last week. The additional funding from the federal government, which we're proud to have fought for and won with you and our elected leaders, should mean no service cuts. The state legislature's rejection of the $145 million raid on MTA dedicated funds in the One House bill and hopeful restoration of the 98 million from the FY21 budget should mean no service cuts and no fare hikes. It should also mean restoring 24/7 subway service so everyone can get to their vaccine appointments or work and back home and to more fun activities in the future. Now's the time to encourage people to return to riding, not give them reasons to stay away. Thank you.
The next speaker is CN.
Good morning, board. My questions are for Commissioner Q, the Commissioner for Accessibility. The MTA has been allocated roughly $6 billion from the federal government. Will any of that $6 billion be allocated to paratransit, the Access-a-Ride and eHealth on Demand program? When will Omni be installed in the Access-a-Ride buses, and will there be an Omni card for those passengers who don't use a smartphone or credit cards? When will the rationing of eHealth on demand rides and the cap on eHealth on demand fares happen, and is it still going to happen? Will there be electric buses brought into the Access-a-Ride bus fleet, which would bring huge cost savings to the paratransit program? So Access-a-Ride applicants get evidence of their mobility impairment from their doctors. Is there any need for the Access-a-Ride assessment centers anymore, having doctors provided by the MTA to reevaluate a passenger's mobility impairment when already a doctor's already given that evidence? Seems to be a bit strange. And I think it's insultive to the passenger and to their medical professional. And a question for all the MTA board members. There was a pilot study in 2014 about alarm systems for people who fall onto the tracks. Please, could the public have the results of that pilot study? I would like to know which system was the best and how much it would cost to implement system-wide. Thank you very much. Have a good day.
The next speaker is Lucas Wolpuck.
Good day, MTA board members. I was very happy when the committee books were posted on Friday instead of Monday for the first time since last year. I'm very happy with the financial support given to the MTA under the American Rescue Plan and hope that the MTA can end this financial crisis sooner than later. I also want an Omni card be made available as soon as possible, as all stations and all buses have Omni readers. I still ask the MTA to find other ways of providing alternative service during the mainline shutdowns. The new Q98V and V98V buses are essential. I thank the MTA for creating them to shuttle people to and from the mass vaccination sites at York College and Medgar Evers College. Last week on Friday, I took the 5:55 Babylon train from New York Penn to Forest Hills. My train was full of people. There were 6 people standing at the door I was next to, and all of the seat rows were full. These people were very close together and weren't able to distance themselves. The overcrowding on the train was unacceptable. According to the Train Time app, my train car, number 7134, had over 50 people on it. We need an increase in service as soon as possible to stop this chronic overcrowding. I'm not even sure why these cuts were approved. We simply need to stop overcrowding. We just need service to return to a level where there are at most 20 or 25 people per car, not 50 or higher. I am saddened to announce that this will be my last time speaking until July, as I'm returning to full-time in-person learning early this April.
The next speaker is Charlton D'Souza.
Good morning, everyone. This is Charlton D'Souza from Passengers United. I'm the president. And I have to say, I am very upset that the MTA and Governor Andrew Cuomo is thinking of raiding $160 million from the MTA's budget. And last week, the Long Island Railroad tried to shove $15 million of budget cuts. And riders had to wait over an hour for trains. So we had a press conference at the governor's office. We're very happy that Long Island Railroad weekday service is being restored on March 29th. We were the first organization to be out there advocating for this at the press conference. And there should be no fare increases across the MTA region, no service cuts at all. So why are buses not showing up overnight? New York City Transit is canceling tons of bus trips. They're not telling passengers exactly why. And what I want to know is what happened to the substitute bus drivers that are supposed to be filling in? So there has to be ample bus service at night. In terms of subway security, we need more police on the trains. They have to be alert. And there has to be an investigation into the Bowery Residents Committee. The MT has this contract with them, but the MT board's not investigating whether the social services are being given out to the homeless. I was at Penn Station last week, and a couple of homeless people told me the only thing that they get are business cards, and they're told to call a number if they need a counselor or they need help. There has to be better outreach in order to solve the homeless problem. And we need 400 social workers on the subway system. But again, there should be no budget cuts, no fare increases. And the MT needs to really start looking at expanding service now, because everyone's getting the vaccine. People are going to be coming back in droves. And I have a feeling that in July and September, ridership is just going to spike up like we've never seen. So the city, the state, we have to be ready for this. And again, thank you so much, everyone. See you next month.
The next speaker is Monica Bartley.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Monica Bartley, Community Outreach Organizer at the Center for Independence of the Disabled, New York. I'm here today to call on the MTA to make a binding agreement to ensure full accessibility for people with disabilities to the New York City subway system. Transportation after discrimination is the second biggest barrier to employment for people with disabilities, and we would like to see this situation change. We need elevators in all stations. Elevators are for everyone. People with disabilities who want to go to school, work, or visit with family and friends and do all the things that people with no disability take for granted would like to see the MTA settle this lawsuit. It is time for them to fully commit to transforming the subways so that they are fully accessible. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is Christina Lampropoulos. Oh.
Hi, it's Christina Lampropoulos. I'm president of the TBTA Superior Officers Benevolent Association, representing the sergeants and lieutenants of TBTA. I'm coming forward in response to comments made last month by Mr. Lin regarding TBTA officers in the task force that was approved to provide safety and fare evasion enforcement on the buses and subways. I wanted to let you know, Mr. Lin, that we too are stuck in a Groundhog Day scenario. Due to lack of supervision, the officers in the task force have been relieved of their duties in fare evasion and worker safety. They currently spend their days working in Bridge and Tunnel Authority administration buildings, waiting to be reactivated in their safety and fare evasion duties on the buses. They were first pulled from their task force duties in response to the pandemic for their own safety. Creating an absence of law enforcement employees resulted in a dangerous work environment for other essential employees in the transit system. They're needed to return to their duties. TBTA is unable to fully return them because in an attempt to gain dominance over the supervisors union, they created a unit of faux law enforcement supervisors to oversee this task force and replace sergeants and lieutenants of the TBTA. In December, their actions were halted by the Division of Criminal Justice Services since they were in violation of the laws of New York. Someone from the MTA must step in and oversee TBTA in their blatant disregard for the laws of the state, the rights of represented employees, and the safety of transit employees and riders throughout the city. There are approximately 200 officers whose mission was rededicated to MTA employee safety and fare evasion. We have always been ready and willing to join this task force and join the effort to protect employees, riders, and MTA fares. We worked together with TBTA management to create a pilot program, but when it came time to sign a cooperation agreement similar to the one signed by BTOBA, they reneged. In allowing TBTA to continue their anti-union style of management unchecked, they are being allowed to get away with shameful waste of resources and a blatant disregard for employee safety throughout the MTA. Thank you for your time.
The next speaker is Andy Pollock.
Morning, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. I'm Andy Pollock from Passengers United. Two things I need to acknowledge regarding the Long Island Railroad. Number one, regarding Mineola, last Monday, March 9th, we had an incident where workers were trapped inside a building during a demolition. Thankfully, in that incident, nobody was injured. However, this past weekend on March 13th, a female iron worker was electrocuted at the Mineola work site. Thoughts and prayers go out to the woman's friends and family. Second, regarding the Long Island Railroad schedules, I'm glad to hear that we are returning to the prior March 7th schedule coming up on Monday, March 29th. However, there is an important note to bring up that this Friday, March 19th, there's going to be a big tourism boom coming to our region as New York City will go to 50% indoor dining and rest of New York State will go to 75% indoor dining. We are going to see possibly the largest one-day ridership in the Long Island Railroad since this pandemic started. As more and more Americans will get vaccinated for COVID-19, set by federal guideline standards by May 1st, the Long Island Railroad has an obligation to increase service patterns. Hopefully, if all goes well, by the beginning of the third quarter and or the fourth quarter, we should hopefully see full Long Island Railroad schedules come back. So I'm hoping that that's going to change. But more importantly, I want to thank Philip Bang for realizing the trains were getting overcrowded in a timely fashion. So with that, thank you all very much, and I will be back in April.
The next speaker is Miriam Fisher.
Miriam Fisher, affirming the statement by Monica Bartley, another disability advocate that I work with, requesting a legally binding agreement to guarantee accessibility on the subway. Reminder of a missed July 2020 deadline for elevators for 100 key stations. I'm also quoting the vocabulary from the recently released Federal Capital Project, the vocabulary, various stations. Remaining stations will receive accessibility in pending future projects. No deadlines, no dates for accountability. I am also quoting Judge Hagler from a court hearing a year ago, March 2020, at the very beginning of the pandemic, who said, he quoted Martin Luther King, "Justice delayed is justice denied." This is a year after Judge Hagler's statement. I also wanted to bring up my own personal subway area, which is not accessible. I live in Chelsea, 23rd Street, 8th Avenue, 7th Avenue, 6th Avenue, Broadway, 4 stations in a row, no elevators until 23rd and Park Avenue South. This 23rd and 6th Avenue was closed for months for renovation, no elevator ever installed. It's on the same block as Sellis Manor, a center residence for people who have visual impairments, blind, disabilities. The same street, no elevator. Same block as the PATH train to New Jersey. And in the news recently, a mysterious removal on 23rd and 6th Avenue of the benches with contradictory public information by the MTA that the seats being removed for cleaning, for the congregation of homeless. I need to sit. I need to sit. I have a bad back, bad knee. Thank you for listening.
The next speaker is Ben Freed.
I'm Ben Freed, Communications Director with Transit Center. I'm testifying today to urge New York City Transit to resume the process of redesigning our outdated bus networks. The bus network redesigns promise to enable riders throughout the city to reach more places in less time. It is especially important to move forward with these improvements for bus riders during the pandemic recovery. The redesigns will make bus service more useful to New Yorkers and help the MTA build back ridership. Before the pandemic struck, the MTA had completed planning for the redesign of the Bronx bus network. A draft of the Queens network redesign was released, and planning for the Brooklyn network redesign was well underway. The disruption of the pandemic understandably paused these critical initiatives, but with massive fiscal relief en route to the MTA and wide-scale vaccination underway, it's time to resume work. The Bronx bus network redesign is a finished plan and should be implemented as soon as possible. Ridership patterns in the Bronx during the pandemic reinforce the wisdom of many changes in the redesign. Routes that are designated to receive more frequent service also tend to be the ones that have retained the most ridership. Agency officials should also resume work on the Queens and Brooklyn redesigns. Both are expected to entail more substantial changes in the Bronx redesign, but the experience of conducting public planning and outreach during COVID offers some important lessons to get these redesigns right. In Miami, the transit agency made progress on its bus network redesign during the pandemic thanks to new outreach strategies. Likewise, the MTA can digitally canvass riders at bus stops and on buses, asking them to complete app-based surveys about their needs and desires for better service. Virtual charrettes and discussions of planning documents will also help reach more bus riders, many of whom don't have time to show up and give input in person. With large amounts of user data gathered in person and online, the MTA will be in much better shape to justify the trade-offs inherent to any bus network redesign. Thanks for your time.
Thank you. The next speaker is Iman Ramawi.
Hi, good morning. My name is Iman Ramawi, and I am the Access-Ride Coordinator and Organizer in the Disability Justice Program of New York Lawyers for the Public Interest, NILPI, and one of the founding members of the Access-Ride Reform Group, or ARG. As the board and the MTA officials know, the disability community has been very upset that the MTA has still been talking about rationing rides with on-demand. On-demand has given me freedom and other Access-Ride users the freedom to live our lives just like everyone else. It also ensured that I wasn't late or a no-show to every function I had to attend, which happens often with the traditional Access-Ride. Now that the MTA is receiving billions in stimulus funding from the federal government, we feel that it is vital to make sure that on-demand doesn't see rationing put in place. If you do limit on-demand services by rationing them, people like me who used to use Access-Ride daily before COVID may lose our jobs because we'll have to rely mostly on traditional Access-Ride, which is nowhere near as reliable as on-demand. It's also vitally important that shared rides be eliminated until COVID is 100% gone. It's not safe for people with compromised immune systems like me, and it's not safe for the drivers who may be asymptomatic. We need to think of everyone's safety, and implementing shared rides during a dangerous pandemic simply isn't safe. I've lost 30 people since last March, and I'm not trying to be added to the list of COVID deaths because of Access-Ride. In the same theme of safety and cost savings, assessment centers should be done away with completely. During COVID and even in the not so distant past, you didn't have assessment centers, and many other paratransit services in New York State don't have them either. What you did and what those other paratransit services do is simply get the documents from doctors and take it from there. Fraud has been brought up multiple times, but no proof of fraud has ever been shown. Claiming that people with disabilities are lying about having disabilities is discrimination. I've been accused multiple times of lying, even though I'm an amputee with lupus. We just want to be treated equally and fairly and not like second-class citizens. Thank you.
The next speaker is Eric Logel.
Hello, everyone. This is Eric Logel, Vice President of the Transport Workers Union, Local 100, representing subway train operators, conductors, and tower operators in the Rapid Transit Division of Subways. I don't have prepared remarks, so I'm just going to speak from the heart. On behalf of our subway train crews, as well as riders in Washington Heights, East New York, Jamaica, Coney Island, and all other communities served by the C and the F lines, I am here today to call upon Mr. Chairman and Madam President to restore normal service on the C and the F trains. I believe the public wants it, and I know that our members want it. And now, with the influx of much needed funding from the federal stimulus, now more than ever, it is doable. We have also seen recently on the Long Island Railroad that service was put back to normal. Our workers and our riders in New York City deserve nothing less. It would be a win-win. I want to close by speaking on the experience of our members in subways, who for the past year have been through hell and back. These new schedules on the C and the F lines impose a significant hardship upon these heroes. It has caused a disruption to their daily routines, to their commute, and to their work-life balance. So once again, on behalf of New York City Transit subway train crews, as well as the riders, I am calling upon MTA leadership to do the right thing and to restore normal, full service on the C and the F subway lines. Thank you.
The next speaker is Anthony Simon.
Good morning. My name is Anthony Simon. I'm the General Chairman of Smart Transportation Division. I am speaking today to address safety issues I raised with BRS General Chairman Chris Natale over the weekend. But first, I would like to offer thoughts and prayers to Kelly, the local 361 iron worker who suffered serious injuries on Saturday. We pray for her and offer support to all of her co-workers on the scene. I first want to make it clear that I worked very closely with Proskauer and DeLavison years ago, before many people at headquarters and even this board arrived, and we negotiated a labor agreement to make the third track successful. But make no mistake, when incidents start adding up and people's safety becomes a concern, none of us would be able to question taking a break and refocusing on the greater good. This weekend required strong action to wake up people to understand that every worker connected to this project needs to make it home safely. Mr. Lieber's response for our call for a safety stand down is stated he disagreed with our opinion to halt all projects. Nobody said we should stop the projects for any great length. We are asking he and his army of capital construction project managers to stop and take a good hard look at the incidents that we referenced in the letter. He needs to ensure worker safety moving forward instead of planning the next ribbon cutting. Capital Construction has become its own isolated entity in recent years, alienating the other agencies and now taking control over items that directly affect safety operations. This continued theme of hiring more and more high-level positions and promoting outside work while doing nothing to build on the in-house workforce is destroying the future of the MTA. Railroad construction should not be about bureaucracy and shiny glass ceilings. I firmly believe our customers want a solid, reliable service using an infrastructure that gets them where they need to go efficiently and safely. I will continue to work alongside the leaders in the building trades to get the project up and running again very soon and safely. The same way we fought to restore service last week, we will fight for the development and growth of our future railroads. The MTA needs to get back to running its own system. We need to vamp up our skilled in-house workforce that built the railroads to what they are today. We need to do more of our own work as intended with workers that are highly qualified. We need to control our own destiny with our own people. We are calling for an independent investigation on third-party work to ensure the safety of all stakeholders at the MTA. We also understand the importance of resuming the third track project as soon as added safety protocols are in place. Thank you.
The next speaker is Yuki Endo.
Thank you, Governor Kuno, for putting pressure on the MTA to revise non-alienated schedule to the old schedule that will happen on March 29 because overcrowding on the non-alienated was extremely bad from the social needs. I think including someone getting heart attack at the Beno station due to overcrowded train. Also, I support for early restoration as well. Again, Governor Kuno to put pressure on the MTA to provide shuttle bus for main line corridor during construction work. Because the main line is still not getting shuttle buses. And nice bus N22 and 24 bus are not best alternate option because nice bus does not run 24 hours. For example, during daylight, how will people from Westbury County Place get transit? Because the nice bus 22, 24, 35, 48, 49 buses stop running around 10 p.m. So people would be forced to spend their paycheck round trip on Uber, which are just nice bus alternates like 22, 26, 24, 25, 35, 40, 41, 48, 49 buses do not run 24 hours. And then name business other than name are still struggling. Also, I am also asked with the incident that happened at the New Order station, a private contractors not inspecting the building before journalists. Also, we are asking for a safe constructors because that was very unsafe situation for the essential working and then don't identify escape engineering. About 9 August, I don't work a daily. Who got contact with the high about this, which MTA PSG need to work together to provide safe construction environment for both non-identified PSG passengers, bus driver, taxi driver, and thank you.
Thank you. The next speaker is Jason Anthony.
Greetings, MTA Board. Jason Anthony, social media member for the Congress of Essential Workers. As you know, our governor, Andrew Mark Cuomo, is involved in huge scandals. And Monday morning, one MTA board member made national headlines, and that is Larry Schwartz. As a transit advocate, I recommend Larry Schwartz to step aside of the MTA board until the investigation concludes. Because your name came out in a report of the Washington Post, and that could damage the MTA image nationwide. But let's go to transit-related things, shall we? On Friday night, I came back from Philadelphia, and I got on a 3 train at Penn Station. I noticed an individual, apparently homeless, acting very suspicious. So I decided to send a report to the Twitter page of New York City Transit and to Transit Police. Unfortunately, like since Chief Joe Fox era, yours truly has been having good success with Transit Police. So I received a phone call from one of the inspectors. So we're gonna keep the good relationship that we have with Transit Police. And we need 24/7 service as of right now. And I'm requesting the MTA board to return to the committees because we need in-depth discussions. We want to hear the president's report, and we want to hear what the board members have to say in each committee. So that means in April.
The next speaker is H.P. Schroer.
Good morning. My name is, for the record, my name is H.P. I'm a World War II veteran and director of UMIWI, a veteran organization representing 12,000 veterans attending college in New York City. First of all, I want to congratulate you, Pat, for the outstanding job you and your staff have done in getting the Biden administration to recognize the financial needs of the MTA and having them doing something about it. 3 years ago, I requested the board to stop charging veterans full fare and establish a veterans discount. I was told while you were sympathetic to the cause, you didn't have the money. So we determined we were going to do something about it. And with the support of Assembly Member Jeffrey Dinowitz and State Senator John Brooks, 2 bills were created, which would provide you with the money for the veterans discount. Yet you never included a veterans discount in your budget and made no effort to request the governor to pass the bills. We ask why. It is estimated to cost the equivalent of 2 cents from every fare to fund a veterans discount. I have a question for this board and its members who represent the governors. It requires a simple yes or no answer. Do you think a veteran's service and sacrifice for country is worth 2 cents? And what prevents you from announcing a veteran's discount effective this Veterans Day? I thank you.
The next speaker is Jean Ryan.
Hi, I'm Jean Ryan. I'm president of Disabled in Action of Metropolitan New York. Today, we have 2 ongoing concerns and demands. We want the MTA to settle our lawsuit to get 100% accessibility in all subway stations. We are part of the class of thousands upon thousands of mobility impaired people who cannot use our subway system. Of course, there are many other people, such as people with young children, people with suitcases, people with low vision or who are blind, and tired people who also need elevators. So please settle the lawsuit with a legally binding agreement. Our second demand is that MTA dedicated transit funds be used for transit and not be rated for state general funds, ever. Thank you.
The next speaker is Sasha Blair Goldenson.
Hi, my name is Sasha Blair Goldenson. I'm with the Rise and Resist Elevator Action Group, and I'm here to affirm the statements by Monica Bartley, Miriam Fisher, Jean Ryan, and others demanding full accessibility of the subway for people with disabilities. It's been nearly 4 years since we filed a lawsuit to demand that all the stations be accessible and that the stations that are supposedly accessible actually work with functioning elevators. And we have gotten commitments for neither of those things. Instead, we hear that it's too expensive to build accessibility. And we think that's just simply a false claim, that there are 3 important ways that the MTA is wasting money that should be spent on accessibility. And those being the legal costs. We've put in a Freedom of Information law request to find out how much is being spent to claim in court that accessibility is too expensive. 2 is the accessoride rides, that the accessoride budget is over $500 million a year, much of which is spent on people who would take the subway if they could, but they can't. And that's another way that money is being wasted. And finally, the construction and maintenance of the dysfunctional elevators that you have right now. We need to see a clear breakdown of those costs. And in those 3 buckets, vast amounts of money are being spent, and that accessibility is too expensive. No, it's not. You just need to get on it. Elevators are for everyone. Thank you.